Time to wrap it up. Time to wrap it up. Time to wrap it up with TIT.
Oh my God, girl. Good job.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
What is going on?
Tuning in to another episode of Level Up with Gene and Jay.
Yeah.
We are on episode 24.
24.
We have a very special guest today.
Yes, sir.
Her name is Marvina Haynes. Just to tell you a little something about her. Thank you.
Hey, Marvina. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
So back in 2004, Marvina's brother, at 16, Marvin, was arrested for a curfew violation, and it resulted in him being wrongfully convicted of murder. And so she started this grassroots led judicial reform nonprofit organization, and it's called Minnesota Wrongfully Convicted Judicial Reform. And so we're going to talk with Marvina about her organization.
Yep.
And have a wonderful conversation.
Yeah. Really excited about this one. So, I mean, circumstances obviously are not good, but, you know, the outcome sounds like it turned out really well. So
if you would like to just formally introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about your organization, and we can go on from there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marvina Haynes. I'm the sister of Marvin Haynes, who was just exonerated December 11th.
Congratulations.
My brother spent 19.5 years in prison for a crime that evidence show he didn't commit. But through all of that, I founded an organization called Minnesota Wrongfully Convicted Judicial Reform. And our mission is dedicated to advocating for justice and reform in the legal system, particularly for those who have been wrongfully convicted or unjustly sentenced. Through outreach, support services, and raising awareness of systematic injustices, we strive to empower affected families and foster unity within our community. And so we lift up, we do a lot of storytelling and bringing awareness to other families who have experienced the same type of trauma that our family had to face.
Wow.
So we'll get into all that. Can we just start with the origin story? Like, how did it all start? How did this organization begin?
I was helping my brother with his social media platform, and then I heard a calling in my ear, and God said that I wasn't going to get my brother out behind the keyboard, and I didn't know what that meant. And so I seen a protest put together, a Black Lives Matter protest by Monique Dodden for Martin Luther King, and I showed up to that protest. I made a little sign. It was my first time ever showing up to try to get my brother's story acknowledged. We had been telling people from our community for years, but we didn't have the proper support, or we migrated from the South, so we didn't know a lot of folks here in Minnesota. We came here as like the same as a refugee to find a better life. My grandparents was in like slave trades and stuff like that. So by the time my mom got big enough, they were still going through like segregation, where there was the white and black water fountains, the buses, and all of that. So my mom knew she didn't want that she only had 2 kids at the time. So they ran north. The same as...
were they from Missouri?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that that's still within our generations. You know what I mean? It wasn't that long ago, y'all.
So not all of our viewers know the story. Could we just start from the beginning?
Okay. Sorry, I'm all over it.
No.
So many pieces to it.
Yeah, there is. And I just want to start from the beginning when
take us back.
Your brother got arrested, and then we'll just move down the timeline if that's okay with you.
Okay. So a couple days prior to Minneapolis police coming to raid my mom's house, my brother had missed court, and there wasn't a bench warrant for him. And so we do believe that my mom called in and said that she wasn't able to make it. It was a juvenile curfew ticket.
Yeah.
And back then they were being real heavy on super predator words against our youth.
Trying to please Congress almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we still see that today.
Yeah.
And I want to get a little into that also. But
Sure.
and so my brother had got a curfew ticket, and so they called in a favor to be able to get my brother a warrant to be able to pick him up on that curfew ticket. When they were able to get the warrant to pick him up, they came to our house and knocked on the door and told my mom that Marvin had a warrant for a curfew ticket. And so my mom didn't really think nothing of it because everybody in our community, kids, were being picked up for curfew.
Right.
And so 3 days later, as we're calling down there looking for Marvin, we can't find him. He's not showing up in the juvenile detention.
And how old is he at this time?
He was 16.
16.
And so he's not showing up in the juvenile detention list. My mom's calling. We're worried. The way we found out that Marvin was being charged with first-degree murder and second-degree assault, they came and raided our house. And there was community leaders on the corner. There was the news that was all out there. And all of these people knew that they were
Before
charging
y'all.
my brother, certifying him as adult, and we didn't
Right.
even have a clue.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is. I can't believe that. Well, I mean, you can, because, America's it's far from innocent. So.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff is controlled by like the political platform, and so
And so everybody in the community knew, but your mom didn't know.
yeah.
And so the police come, they raid the house.
Uh-huh.
And what'd they leave with?
They took a lot of things. They ripped open bags of clothes, pulled out all the clothes. They were looking for specific things. They took some sweaters. They took my mom's car. We never got that back.
Really?
Do you feel like it was like just a bunch of random stuff?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
But when they got one of the sweaters out of the house, they said that it had blood on it, and so they were really like, "We got him! It's blood on the sweater." Come to find out, the blood had nothing to do with the crime scene.
Could have been anything. Could have been playing basketball.
But
You
they can do like an analysis to find out, and it came back canine blood, so it was probably like one of the dogs we probably had or something like that. But it was crazy. So we're trying to figure out, like, okay, why would they say Marvin did this? And we're calling people. We're trying to reach out to all of the organizations that was here 30 years ago,
Right.
but we just couldn't find help for our family.
Yeah.
So we did end up getting Marvin a lawyer, which is Cassius Benson. And if you look at him, he's been in trouble for like money laundering and all of these things. And
so they interrogated Marvin for quite some time, from what I understand.
yeah, they interrogated him for the whole 3 days.
Jeez.
But when they first got Marvin, he's thinking that he's going in for a curfew ticket. So
Right.
if you look at the interrogation videos, you can see like Marvin don't have a clue what the fuck what's going on.
No, you
Oh, it's
good.
okay.
Don't have a
We all
clue what's
grown.
going on.
Let it out, girl.
He's just like, can I see my mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is my mom here?
Yeah, when you see
Where
the
are
video,
you?
it's
And you know
crazy.
it's like-
he looks like a 16-year-old kid who's scared,
And they go
Yeah.
almost an hour without even telling him why he's being charged, why he's even there. He
Yeah.
didn't even know.
No.
He's sitting there like, why am I here?
Yeah, and by the time it actually clicked in, it was at the end when you see him. He's like, "What? You said?" He's like, "I didn't do anything." He got up out of
Right,
his chair,
yeah.
and he's like, and even when he at the end of his trial, he told the jury, the judge, and everybody there, all of y'all gonna burn in hell because I didn't do this.
Yeah.
Right.
When we talk about the case, backing up a little bit, could you share a little bit of the details? So where did this take place? What was he being charged for?
This took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota at 3300 Lindale Avenue North. It was called Jerry Flower Shop. Okay. There was a white man that was supposed to, that did get killed. And so the unfortunate thing is his killer is still on the loose.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so we found out that the owner had been had a federal case from like getting buildings and using them to gamble in. So he was the person that supplied the housing.
Right.
For him.
So was the flower shop just like a front for the gambling, or was it?
That's what we believe, because if you look at who his lawyer is Jim Meehan, and he was a top lawyer in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
For Minnesota. He was like one of the top lawyers. He stopped being a lawyer, being an attorney, to go and gamble full time for poker. And so you can look him up.
Wow. Dang.
So then,
and that never came into, they never said anything about that. But when you think about high stake gambling, it's not anyone from the community that I live in who can even afford to buy in. Like, you have to have enough money to buy in. When you watch Jim Meehan on TV, he's like in a encyclopedia from being Minneapolis #1 best poker player. And when you see the amount of money that he bet per hand, it's nothing that a child or a neighbor from that community will know that much money is even in that building.
And the crazy part is like, when I was watching that video that was done by Unicorn Riot, shout out to Unicorn Riot for that video they did. That was very well done, very in depth. And when you look at like the interrogation, you could see like one of the detectives was kind of pushing on him, like, there was money in there, there was a lot, and he's like, what it's a flower shop, bro. Like, so that was the crazy part that I saw, was just how much pressure they were putting on him. It reminded me a lot of what was it, Central Park 5?
Yeah.
A lot of that interrogation, very forceful on young kids, confusing them. And
well, you could see the intimidation that one detective was trying to, he's scooting in on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like kind of trying to intimidate him, and he's just a kid.
So that's called the Reed technique. But I want to get back to us talking about the detective bringing up high stake gambling. They gave us that clue to be able to look into that, because it was supposed to be a small robbery where someone came in and tried to get money, so they wouldn't have knew anything about high stake gambling.
Yeah, right.
In the interrogation, the police himself said, that there's high stake gambling in there. Why didn't they ever look at that avenue of things?
Right. Like,
so that would have opened up the suspect list, and they would have knew, like, it couldn't have been a kid from our community.
Yeah.
Right. What was the evidence that put the alleged evidence that put him down?
No evidence.
So how do you? What was their fake evidence?
No DNA. No.
They have an eyewitness. Anything?
Witnesses.
Nothing.
And from what I understand, like, the witnesses all passed away too, or
so there was a sister who got out and was able to get out of the flower shop and run to someone else's house, and she gave a description to the 911 call that day. It looked totally different from Marvin. She said that the caller was like 5'10", short cropped hair, bigger than Marvin. And Marvin was 16, 5'7", and he had an afro that was like 7 inches long.
Scrawny little kid and stuff. And
there's no way that you can mix up the two descriptions. But what Minneapolis police did was they exchanged a picture for Marvin when he was 14 and substituted that picture, so that will make him have, because at 14 he had short cropped hair. So now you're looking at a person with short cropped hair. Most witnesses that are white, it's very hard for them to identify a person of color to begin with anyways. And so when you're thinking about a person memory, you want to jog it as soon as possible, because that's going to be the most credible information. And so they didn't do all that. And the lady herself, she picked somebody else out of the lineup.
Yeah, they were like 75-80% certainty too. Like, Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And big shout out to Marvin too, part of a news press conference we saw as well, where he said, I have no ill will towards that family either. I mean, to lose so much of your life and to be able to come out and still kind of have that sense of humbleness and forgiveness, you know what I mean? Big shout out to him for that, because that's wild, man.
Yeah.
But most of the guys that I work with, they all have this faith, and that's what keep them pushing through. Like, these guys are some of the most gentle guys that you'll ever want to meet, and the women are also the same.
Right.
And they just proclaim they're innocent. Like, but Marvina, I ain't do that. I'm listening to you because nobody else listens to them.
Yeah.
Right.
What about your family? I mean, when this was all going on, like, what was going through y'all's mind? Like, how did y'all handle everything? I mean, sounds like there was a lot of hardships and...
Yeah, so, like, when you're already a person of color, the prison system has probably ripped through all of our families. And so... because it has came so close to nature to black folks, most times some of our family looked at it as if he didn't do it or not, that the system was going to figure it out, because we also have been taught that the police is here to protect and serve us. They cause us no harm. And we all believe into the system, right?
Yeah.
We're Americans. And so... we were just really like the normal family, with a hope and a dream, but we kept our faith, which was able to bring us through. My family separated. We lost everything, but we have always been in survival mode, right? And so some of these things is what African American people have to deal with, just being black.
Right.
And so I think one of the things that really brought us through was the faith. And Marvin, like, standing on his, like, listen, y'all know I ain't do that. Can y'all call this number for me?
Right.
So, yeah.
And so your family, like, poured a lot of money into the lawyers?
Yeah, we lost our housing. My parents separated after the pressure. And we still haven't been able to put back all of the pieces, but now we do have Marvin in the flesh, right? So we still can start healing and loving on each other. But due to the poverty piece, right? Because we still haven't been able to ever figure that back out.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry. I'm going to check cameras.
Okay. And so it's just like... just trying to figure out where do we go next.
Right. So was it 2010 when you started this organization then?
No. I did a lot of things. I had a cleaning business. I had foster kids. We hired youth in the summer with the cleaning business. I had a small boutique. I actually started this organization like 2 years ago.
Okay.
After I started advocating for Marvin, families just started like reaching out to me like, Marvina, my cousin is wrongfully incarcerated and he ain't do that crime, Marvina. And so after so many families started coming, I knew I had to organize these families. And so that's what I started to do, organize these families. And now a lot of folks feel like, well, Marvina, you got your brother out. You need to do this or you need to do that. But as long as I have my platform, I'm going to continue to speak for people who's wrongfully incarcerated or overly sentenced, because I remember the struggle that I had to go through, and I remember when nobody didn't listen to me. And so there's things that keep families, like being our school systems, living in poverty, the trauma that's continuing to happen within the family. So a lot of times... sometimes families just need someone to tell them, you got this.
Right.
Keep pushing.
Yep. Absolutely.
So do you have like pro bono lawyers that like help you out with this? Or are you just like learning to do this all on your own?
Well, I actually have been thinking about going to law school, because even with having pro bono lawyers, we have to learn how to interpret this work and be able to fend for our people, right? Because...
facts.
the people who we believed in were some of the people. You just never know. Like, you got to have real trusted, rooted folks that you can trust.
Right.
Because folks' life are online. So
yeah,
I just been thinking about going to law school myself.
Yeah, you should.
And they said there were like, thousands within America of wrongfully convicted people. And when I was looking at some of the estimates too, they said around, it was life or hours or years in prison, over 30,000, dude. Like 30,000 lives lost.
Yeah.
That's insane to me, man. And it goes back to that. There's a deeper thing going on here, right? Like, people aren't just there's racism on top of it, systematic racism, but there's also this political ploy. Like,
yes,
what are they doing? Does this better fit you years down the road? When we go back to even Amy Klobuchar, like, what was your purpose behind that? Were you trying to really fight for rights, or were you trying to boost your career, And I'm glad it's going to blow up in her face, to be honest, like.
I mean, is there an investigation? Like, on
it's so hard to get an investigation into someone with her power, right?
It's like going against Big Pharma or something.
Yeah, and like in Minnesota, she's like a mini president, so she's protected. It was really hard to get folks to start listening to my brother's story, but as I continued to show up, they were like, Marvin, I'm gonna read this story, and within, I knew I had to get someone to engage with reading with Marvin's story, because within the first 5 minutes, you will be like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
The words even seem like they're spelled backwards. It's so crazy, right?
Right.
And so it's really hard. But what we have to understand is that our votes matter, right? And so we have to stop voting people people who only come around and say what they're going to do. We have to have people that's actually doing the work.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yes.
Which is huge. Congrats for just even thinking about, you know what? I think I'm going to go be a lawyer, because it's valuable information for people to know, and one life could save a bunch.
This one just stopped.
Oh, yeah, you good. Thank you so much. I don't know what's going on here. Slide that down a little bit. All right, thank you. Good catch.
So,
shout out to, really quick, we got John and Chelsie over here. What is the name of y'all's production? TP Studios?
No. I'm John Lopez, realtor. She's Chelsie Lopez, marketing production. We are part of the Lopez team, and I have a video blog that's called Keeping It Real with John Lopez, and so I will be interviewing Gene and Jay once this is over, and just getting your platform out there, because this is clearly just so impactful. And stories that need to be heard, and I want to be a part of it. So
thank you so much, man. We appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is I feel like a lot of Americans, they only vote every 4 years, when it's a presidential election.
Yes.
But it's very important, I think more important than the presidential election, to be voting locally.
Yeah.
Because that's what's really gonna affect our lives, like, immediately, you know what I mean? So, like, this past election, people need to get out, start voting for their local.
Especially in Minnesota. So much has happened, man, and especially since 2020. I mean, when you think about everything that happened even before that, but after 2020, man, we've really become ground zero for everything to go wrong, and especially, but you get these little nuggets of beauty that come out, like Pac said, the rose grew out of concrete, and that's him getting exonerated, and a huge congratulations to you and your family, and huge props to you, girl. I mean,
that's amazing.
When Gene hit me up and told me that you were going to be on the show, I was like, no way. And I immediately started looking in more about, like, who you are, what you did, and everything, and there's so much of you everywhere, and it just shows you fighting right there on the front line. So good on you, girl. I'm sure your brother is just overly, grateful for everything you've done for him. So
thank you so much. And I just ran for city council of the 4th Ward.
Oh, did you?
Okay. And one of the things I noticed is, like, as I was campaigning, most of the elder Black people, they said that race doesn't matter for me. And some of them has never voted, and I'm like, oh my God, like they didn't even know it was a race going on, because when you think about the political stuff, they have certain people that has been voting, and they think that that's the only people that matter. And so, you know, I'm grassroots, and so we went kind of like off the scale with everything.
Yeah,
it's just also outdated, and so
they need new faces in it. You know, it's same as just like, you know, with Hollywood. Like they always have these new actors playing new roles. Like give it someone fresh. Let someone else get a chance.
Old and with the new,
right? And to have people, especially those who have been affected so greatly, you know, by the justice system. You know, huge kudos. Let us know whatever we can do to help boost that in any way. You know?
Okay.
So who are you working on right now to try to exonerate?
So there's a few families. I have Philip Vance, Deontez Bobo, Brian Hooper, Willie Crump, and then the list goes on.
Yeah, you got a lineup.
Staying busy.
Lincoln Cobwell. That was just some I can remember off the top of my head. But I have like 35 families that, and I'm getting intakes from all over the world. We have folks sending intakes from Florida, North Carolina, Chicago, just to name a few of the states that we're getting these intakes from. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen next with this work. I think that a lot of education needs to happen around it, so people can understand the urgency of the work that I do, because our loved ones are suffering every day in prison for crimes that they didn't commit. And when we think about prison, we want people there who has committed the crime, so we could keep our safe streets. When we lock up innocent people, that doesn't keep none of us safe.
Stop the black kids from streets to prison pipeline, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm very interested in that around that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm speaking of loved ones, I mean, so Marvin, like, so when did he get exonerated? Like, what was the day he walked out?
December 11th.
December 11th, just in time for the holidays and everything.
5 days after his birthday.
Wow.
Does he get any like post-conviction relief or anything from the state? Like, is anybody helping him out?
Instead of just we are so sorry.
So they open the door, let him out, and they apologize, and that's it?
Yeah, and that's what makes it a lot more stress for the family, because there's no resources, because they don't actually even acknowledge this work. Like, having a person exonerated is like every so often thing, but when we know that, when we have patterns of it from state to state, person after person, we should look at the system and see if anything that we did has caused folks to be wrongfully incarcerated. And this doesn't have to be like just calling out people like Amy, but I think those people who did harsh acts of crime against citizens of the United States, they should have some type of penalty, the same way that we will if we were to. If I came in and just kidnapped your son, I'm gonna go to jail, and they're gonna never let me out. But when they came in and kidnapped my brother, there's nothing we can do. They let him out of jail with no resources. We're struggling right now trying to find him a place to live, because he wants to have his own place, and not just any place, a place where he feels safe at, And I've been calling around like, is there anything for a person who was just exonerated? Like, you guys admitted that you hurt and harmed my family. You admitted that my brother did 19.5 years. All of these things. And when you let him out, you can't even help him get an ID.
But they sure as hell got that press conference. You know, we are so sorry, Marvin. Like, it just blows my mind. And, you know, when you even go back to the family, too, I mean, he gets exonerated. What is that family left with? They spent so much time trying to lock up your brother that now that he's exonerated, all this, no witnesses, no DNA, none of this stuff. What do they even have to work with now? So now the family has nothing, you know, and that's heartbreaking in itself, you know, and that's
And I feel really bad. We feel really bad for the Shear family, right? We wish that never would have happened, but one of the things that we wanted to have happen was for them to have the right person in custody, right? Through the work that I was doing, I had like some of his family members who I'm not even sure if like they probably knew a little bit more, because they were just saying things to me like, just leave it alone. Like, just don't bring it up. Like, they just wanted it to be left alone. And that's what we see happens with white supremacists for so many years, is that they do shit and then they say, well, just leave it alone.
Yeah. Don't dig. Stop digging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
wild.
crazy. And then even though they let Marvin out, we don't know what his mental mind is going to be like in the future. I just watched a documentary of a person named the Durrell Hunt trial. That guy went all the way through the Supreme Court, got denied. The DNA came back and said he didn't rape, again, a white woman. And then they finally released him years later. 10 years after he was released, he ended up committing suicide. So the pain that they cause to individual mind, they may look good on the outside, but we don't know what's stirring up. These guys get put into a prison system with people who has actually committed harsh acts of crime, rape people, kill people, all these things, rape kids and all that. And so as a 16-year-old, the first thing you do is you have to fight all these guys off of you. You got to make sure that you establish yourself. And some kids don't go in there. Marvin went in there with the mentality that he was always going to prove his innocence, so he didn't get caught up in a lot of stuff. But what about the drugs that's being brung in by the CEOs? What about all of the bad things that happen inside of these prisons,
for
where
a 16-year-old to
just sitting here and
experience.
I don't know nothing about it.
And that must have been a lot for your family too, just knowing like what is he experiencing right now, you know, and the fact that kind of there was nothing y'all could do about it, right?
It's kind of like my mom mentally checked out, but we were young, we were kids ourselves,
right.
So we we didn't know what to do. We did what every American family did. We got us who was supposed to be a good lawyer, because we read all this shit about him and it said that he was, and then we looked for a lawyer that was the same color of us, because our people won't sell us out, and that was all a hoax, and it was all a lie.
And all they did was take y'all's money.
Yes.
Wow.
And we have never got our money back, our car back. Marvin did 19 years working in the prison system. Are they going to at least pay him minimum wage?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things he said too in that press conference that really hit me too was when they were like, well, Marvin, what are you going to do now? He was like, I just want to get a job and stuff. And they're like, are you going to get any reparations for this? He was like, honestly, man, again, another humble comment. Like, I just want to work. I mean, I was working like making cents a day. You know, I just want a regular job and be able to just live my life. And again, I mean, huge shout out to Marvin for just having that. I mean, as far as his mental state is, how's it been for him since he's been out? He's
been doing okay, you know, but we all can walk around and say we're doing okay. But only he knows when he's laying down dealing with himself, how he's really doing.
Right.
Everything started happening so fast for him. Can you imagine being locked up in your bathroom for 19 years, and then
you have a press conference, cameras all in your face now, and
but I really appreciate Hennepin County Mary Minority from giving my brother the opportunity to be exonerated, because they waived the time bar. So Minnesota has a legislation that says no matter what your crime is, no matter whatever you did and what evidence you have, after 2 years of being convicted, you can never bring back any evidence, any case or anything, because they say it's time barred.
Yeah. Right. Is it like double jeopardy or?
No, it's not. This is the United States, so that we should be always able to prove our case.
Yeah.
That's what the court system says.
Yeah.
But Minnesota has it where if I'm convicted today of murder at 16 for the rest of my life, I only have 2 years to petition the Supreme Court, because after that 2 years, no matter if I'm right or if I'm wrong, they don't even have to look at your case. They say you're time barred.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So we are working on legislation right now around that.
Good for y'all. And is your brother, like, do you think he's going to get involved with kind of what you're doing then? Like being a part of your organization, or kind of venture off on his own? What is he?
It's kind of unsure right now with him. I know that he just really wants to get himself established and together. And so he's like, he wants to get his license, and he worked really hard to get his ID. Oh my God,
Just
the price of an ID
simple.
went up so much. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And just being able to have those things is very important to him. So he's just taking it one day at a time.
Well, I'll tell you what, I follow both of you on social media, and it's wonderful to see the smile on his face of him just enjoying life on ATVs, just smiling. It's just wonderful to see, man.
Yeah, he gets those flowers, you know what I mean? Especially you too. I mean, it was wonderful to see those tears of yours, you know, those tears of success. You could tell there was a lot of pain behind those, but man, watching you hug your brother, whew, that took a lot, you know, just to see just a beautiful thing. So again, congratulations, you know, on fighting it. I'm just so sorry it took 19.5 years.
Yeah, and how do we stop, how do we make it so the person who's sitting in prison right now wrongfully incarcerated, where it won't take their family 19.5 years. It shouldn't take that long.
Right.
We should want to correct any injustices that our system, we're supposed to have the best system.
Right.
This is the United States of America.
So another thing that you are doing is the End Political Prisoners. You're bringing attention to, what is it, Stillwater?
Yeah.
All the prisoners that are being, they have dirty water, harsh treatment. So we went to the press conference and watched you talk about that. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so last year, while I was campaigning for city council, some of the guys that I support, Philip Vance, gave me a call. It was very hot outside. The paint was peeling off the walls in the prison. Their water is brown coming out the sinks there. And so, like, the way that they try to drink water is they take their sock,
filter it
with the water from the ice machine. So if if they're locked in their cell all day, they don't have water to drink.
Right.
So people were like passing out in there and all of these things.
There's no air conditioning there, right?
There's no air conditioner at all. And the building is like
over 100 years old or something.
Yeah. And the paint was peeling off the wall and stuff. And he said, Marvina, we cannot go back in that cell. It's too hot. We ain't got nothing to drink. I'ma die in there. They thought they was finna die in there. And I said, hold on, I'm finna call somebody. They said, but we gotta lock in right now. We can't go back in that cell. I said, okay, I'm on my way up there. So as I'm trying to drive to Stillwater because they finna be in trouble and the water is brown.
Right. That's crazy.
I'm on the phone trying to call other people and let them know, like the people that I organized with, David, Chantel Ellen showed up, a few other people, and then the crowd grew and grew. And I'm like, we got to get to Stillwater Prison because they trying to give the prisoners more, force them to drink the brown water. They won't even let them get the water out the ice machine, and that's unhealthy. So if I knew that if they were going to take a stand inside of the prison, we needed to organize to speak up for my brother was inside that prison.
Right. So much inhumane things happening. So it's awesome to be able to bring that to light. You know, a lot of people don't know what's going on in there, you know?
Yes. And so as all that was unfolding, they were like, by the time we pulled up, we see them with like tanks, ambulance. They're doing CPR on black dummies outside. Like they're gearing up to go in there and like take these prisoners down. I'm like, hold up. None of that's happening. We started getting the media on. We started connecting with the media, and we're like, Stillwater Prison is and letting them know all the things that happened.
Right.
And so we showed up. So then after that, they didn't actually have to go in there with any force because we were there to make sure that didn't happen. But they did take some of the guys to solitary confinement. They tried to charge them with things like holding the CO hostage, which that never happened, but it was a black CO who said that they were holding her hostage. But as I'm on the phone with them, and that's the calls were recorded, and they like, she can leave if she wants to, like, we just don't want to go back in that cell, it's too hot.
Right.
And so they locked down all the guys. They locked down that whole, I think it was B East, that mod. They took some to solitary confinement for 180 days.
180 days.
Yes.
And then they shipped some of them out to different prisons, right?
Yeah, and so now they're
Just
all
because
getting
they
moved.
wanted water?
Just because they wanted water. And the DOC admitted that they needed to do some things. They didn't actually say the water was brown, but we did have this guy Eli who brung water out, and they arrested him. Like, he went from being drove home and he had the water to being put into another police car and saying that he was violated, but his wife was there and she was able to grab his belongings, and that's how we got the water. But the problem is, when you're thinking about a water sample, you have to collect it the first sample of the day. Even when you see the way that they collected the water, their samples say like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
But that's not the proper way. The Safe Drinking Act says that in order to get the best collections to know what's going on with your water, you have to do it before any water start getting ran, because eventually you flush it out. You can flush it out. But even when they did it at 11 o'clock, they found a lot of like Mahises.
Jeez, never even heard of that.
I think I'm not saying it right.
Probably not good.
Yeah,
Right?
within the water, and
Yeah.
it was like 4 times or 5 times the amount that a person should drink.
Right.
There's lead in it.
And this was all flooding through that prison?
Yeah.
So this was all last summer, right?
This was all last summer.
Has anything been resolved?
Well, you know, the Department of Minnesota Department of Health came in and did all these findings, but this isn't the first time. So actually, this water crisis thing isn't the first time that the inmates have been saying that they're drinking bad water.
Yeah.
This is the first time that it ever grew that big and brought
Right.
that much awareness, because we had international and national news around that, but things just go past so fast.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
And the inmates are in there still drinking brown water.
It's unfortunate.
That is.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, too, I just want to bring it back just a little bit. Could you, who's Isaiah? Is Isaiah one of your cousins, or
Yeah.
did he turn out to be like an eyewitness, or what was his role?
So when they picked up Marvin and he was saying, go ask my cousin, this is how Isaiah got into it. So when they got Isaiah didn't know what they were talking about. They tried to question Isaiah like 5 or 6 times prior to getting this statement from him. And they say they lost the interrogations and all that.
Yeah.
And then when they finally did get Isaiah to say that, they told him that if he don't say it, that his cousin did it, that they were going to send him to jail for the rest of his life.
So he was almost coerced as well.
He was, totally.
That's wild.
And even like, and I know it kind of be like, okay, what is Marvina talking about? But even if you go to the transcripts from 2000 and I think it was 6 by the time they made it to court. On the jury, Isaiah told the judge, they're making me say this about my cousin. He was 14 crying, like snot boogers coming out his nose. But it was like real serious.
Right.
Like he couldn't even barely talk. Like, I don't know what's going on. They're making me say this. So they pulled him off the stand and they took him to the back and they straightened him out. And they lost those tapes too. And when they brung him back in, he wasn't able to say anything but yes or no. Still crying, but he held his hand.
How is that even allowed? Like, that is insane. That's like something that happens in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, you
It
bring
felt like
someone
a
back
movie.
I bet.
and then change the whole thing, and everyone just kind of went with it.
Yeah.
How doesn't the jury see through that? You know, like
It was
Depends
a
on who's
holiday
getting
weekend.
picked, right?
they wanted to get home.
Yeah, it was Memorial Day's weekend when they came back. I think they came back with the verdict in, it was a very short time.
Yeah. So did Isaiah end up redacting his statements eventually? And that's Like,
well, from day one, Isaiah's story on his own was always he didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But then when you got adults who's over you with guns to your head and throwing you in the cell with a grown man, that's
and
like,
you said he's 14, right?
yeah,
Like,
he's 14.
Can only imagine that. I mean, I've been interrogated multiple times by the police too, especially at that age, dude. And they really try to scare you into that, especially when you're young and you don't know the system that well. On top of being confused on why you're there, they're just throwing out so many different words. I mean, even me as an adult, I sometimes get lost in translation when I'm talking with folks. I can only imagine what it's like when you got a kid who doesn't know a lot of this, judicial system and are being hit with these big words, and all he heard was life in prison. We're going to do this. And basically you cannot, it's David and Goliath almost,
Yes, but the history of Minneapolis police, like they used to take the black boys down to Mississippi. Have you guys heard of those stories? You can look it up too. And like put guns to their mouth, in their mouth, and make them like say things about other kids. Like the history of Minneapolis police itself here in Minneapolis, they have always preyed upon the black community.
Yeah.
And then use words against us and called us super predators.
Yeah.
When they're the ones that's the super predators.
Only to make the state more white safe.
Yeah, and it makes it really bad because when you think about policing, we do need police.
Yeah.
We need police.
Absolutely.
But we need police that's going to protect and serve all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
and they need more. They need continuous training. You can't just get out the police force and bam, now you like in the army, like they constantly practice for their upcoming missions. It's a constant thing. The Navy SEALs are always, that needs to be the same with the police. But we shouldn't be their
mission. We should be their community that they want to see thrive. Yeah. We're not a mission. Right. And we can't look at ourselves as a mission. And my grandkids are not going to be their fucking mission. And I'm going to make sure that policies are changed and stuff like that. But they prey upon us. And it's crazy and it's hurtful.
Absolutely.
Because I know that if I don't continue to stand up in this fight, a lot of my brothers and sisters that look like me, they still live in slave mentality. We was forced and beaten to think that all of these things. So when they say, well, the black community can't come together, well, you guys force us to go against each other based on bread and milk and different things like that. Yeah. We're trying our best, but they never have came back and repaired the harm from slavery, the trauma that was caused by that. And so we're steady continuing to see this cycle of slavery, but it just looks different.
Yeah. Right. They spent more time in trying to turn people against each other than they did just doing the right thing.
Yes.
There's no profit, I guess, in doing the right thing.
But it's about power.
Yeah.
And then so a group of Pacific people think that they are superior over all other people. But they have never worked as hard as my people have worked in other races. They haven't put the blood, sweat, and tears how we had to get down and build the whole America.
Yeah.
What can our viewers do? Like, if somebody wanted to be helpful and be a part of the cause, like, what do you suggest? Like, what can they do to help out?
So there's a lot of things you can do. You can get involved in the cause, no matter what you believe in. Find a group who is organizing to make America better for everyone. As far as my organization goes, we're always looking for volunteers, experts, other partners, and donations and sponsors. This is a volunteered based organization. We're a nonprofit and I don't get paid for my work. And so donations are always welcome.
And do you accept those at your website?
Yes.
What is your website?
It's sorry, I keep saying when I get so passionate sometimes.
It doesn't roll off the tongue easy, the name of the organization.
Okay. MNWCJR at, sorry about that, that's my Gmail. You can always feel free to write me. MNWCJR at gmail.com, and you can make a donation through MNWCJR.org. Again,
and that is that Minnesota Wrongfully Convicted Judicial Reform.
Yes.
That is like saying 3 times fast.
Say it 3
It's
times
kind of
fast.
long, but I had to have something that covered, Minnesota, and
it touches everything that we
Yes.
need. Like one of those words are going to stand out to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Absolutely.
And as far as your brother, if there's somebody watching that just wants to help him out, does he have a GoFundMe
Cash
or
App,
anything?
Yeah, so he does have a GoFundMe account that's connected to his page, and then you can always donate it through there. But feel free to reach out to him at his Facebook page, Marvin Haynes, and then he still has his justiceformarvinhaynes16.com website. So
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, just like she said earlier, too, y'all, keep using your voices. Keep utilizing whatever social media we have. I know that TikTok's all up in the fits right now, but utilize it. Talk about it. I mean, the more people start showing their own voices, the more when you look at big corporations, if everyone agreed not to shop at Target, Target's going to freak out. You know what I mean? Like if everyone comes together and says, we're not okay with the way this judicial system is anymore, of all races and creeds, like banding together, man.
Yeah.
Like we always say, let's be better humans. Let's be better together.
Right.
And let's prevent this kind of stuff from happening anymore. It's 2024. Like, wow.
And one of the things that that's really big we're working on is changing the 13th Amendment clause where it says that if you commit a crime that you return to slavery. I think for my people, even having the word slavery connected to the Constitution is mocking a Pacific type of people, which is African American culture. And so we have to pay attention to the laws. That's very important to start learning laws and how it affects your community.
Yeah. And again, Marvina, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It is truly an honor to be sitting here with you for someone who literally made history, for your brother, for your family. There's just not enough thank yous we could give you for that.
One thing I wanted to say before we do start wrapping it up is this Minnesota Wrongfully Convicted Judicial Reform, your Facebook page got shut down, right?
Yeah.
Last week when the whole thing happened with Facebook. You know how Facebook was offline for a little bit?
Yeah.
Her thing got cyber attacked.
Yes.
And so it's no longer a thing right now.
Cyber attack.
Yeah. So
that's when they cleanse the app and be like, what's making too much traction? That's getting too much attention. That's getting too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have no access to that, right?
No, but you can follow me at my other page, my business page, Marvina Marvelous.
Right.
And then I also have Instagram page, and I think it's TikTok. We're working on that TikTok.
Hey.
And your Instagram page is the organization's name, right?
Okay. If you Google the organization, everything
just starts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And we'll put all that information, y'all, on our Facebook page as well as, we got our YouTube, we got our Instagram and TikTok as well, but Facebook is our primary headquarters. It's been, right, Gene?
Right.
So we'll make sure that we're putting anything you want us to share. Feel free to reach out to us. Anything that we can connect as far as connecting those, like Gene said, with people that want to help either financially or those that just kind of want to help in general, and because girl, you're taking a lot on, right?
Yeah.
Like your brother was just the first step.
I'm hoping to continue to share this platform with other families just like my family.
Yes.
And so if we can use this to uplift other stories to help other people who's wrongfully incarcerated.
Absolutely. That's what this is all about. Did we miss anything that you wanted to speak of before we wrap this up? Or did you speak about everything you wanted to?
I know that we're planning a conference, but we don't have a lot of detail about that. But some of the things that our organization do is we have our Christmas event, Miracle Moments of Santa, and that's an opportunity for impacted children with the judicial system to go shopping for their loved ones, because our children are when decisions are being made, they're often looked over, and so getting the children engaged.
Right.
And then we do a event in August, Minneapolis Speaks, and that's to give any business in Minneapolis a platform to be able to come together and tell what your business do, how whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
It's a platform.
Honestly, y'all, if anybody viewers out there, you have some young black girls out there, you make sure that you tell them about Marvina. I mean, talk about an influence and inspiration and someone to look up to. Girl, I'm telling you, I mean, thank you.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us and conversating with us.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely
Indeed.
share our love to Marvin as well. Huge congrats to you, bro. Welcome back. You know, if you ever feel like you want to stop on by LUPWGJ, you make sure you come holler at your boys.
Yeah, he'll definitely be coming. I talked to
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. Well, thank you again. And like always, y'all, like, share, subscribe. And you got all of her social media platforms as well that we'll be sharing later when the video drops. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to her stuff too. Let's get the word out. Let's make sure that there are no more Marvin Haynes out there, you know, that are being wrongfully convicted for ridiculous stuff like this. So huge shout out to Unicorn Riot. Huge shout out to the Innocence Project for all the work they did. Am I missing anything, Gene?
Not that I could remember at this moment.
Cool. All right. Well,
thank you, everybody. Thank you, Marvina.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. Level up.
Hey, thank you guys for hanging out. Our studio audience.
Yes.
Once again, like always, y'all are leveling up with Gene and Jay. We'll see y'all next episode.